In today's video, we're going to be drawing a neo-traditional style owl. What's going on, guys? I'm Daggett, this is Daggett Designs. Welcome back to a brand new video, and in today's video we're going to be drawing something neo-traditional style. We're going to be drawing an owl head. Now this is a little different to my usual content. I don't normally do a lot of neo-traditional stuff, but I thought I'd change it up a little bit and give you guys something fresh. So why don't we just start drawing by going straight to the overhead. Alright, welcome back to the tables. So to start with, I've got a sheet of A3 sketch paper I've just folded in half. This is to do our pre-sketch. I've got a mechanical pencil. You can use whatever pencil you have. And I've also got an eraser in case we need it. Okay, so to start this one off, we're going to do a circle. Seems like all of my designs start with a circle. Nonetheless, we're going to do a circle like this for the head of our owl design here. We're going to drop in a center line, so just wrapping around the curvature of our circle like this. Okay, and we're going to cut the top of our circle off, okay? So we're just going to draw a line, pretty much a straight line across the top of our circle. And if you'd like to, you can go ahead and erase that top portion just to make this a little bit easier for you to follow. Alright, so from here you're going to drop down to about here, this line here, and you're going to drop in a big circle that touches the center line and goes all the way around like that. It's more of an oval shape or an egg shape, and it comes around the face and touches that center line. And on the other side you're going to do the same thing, but it's going to be a much slimmer shape that matches that side of the head a little bit better. Just like this. Between these two, you're just going to drop in a curved line that comes out and angles down like this, and that's going to give you a place for your beak. Just above this, you can just drop in a little circle that we're going to add to a little bit later on. On either side of your beak shape, you can just put in these little curves like this. And then on the inside of your larger circles, towards this sort of top area here, I'm going to put in a big circle like this with a smaller, slightly smaller circle inside of it. And then inside of that, yet another smaller circle. Okay, so they've got 3 repeating circles. And again, you're going to want to do this on both sides, slightly obscuring your largest circle with the edge of your beak there, okay? Now, once you've put all of your circles in, we're going to add some eyebrows to this dude. So just coming out from either side at the top of your beak here, you're gonna come out. Don't worry if it intersects with the top of your eye, it certainly will. Okay, you're gonna sweep upwards and then sweep sort of back down. So if you think about it, it's technically a long S curve, okay? So we've got this curvature like an S. And you're going to do that again on the other side. But again, you're just going to foreshorten this one a little bit so that it matches the angle that we're seeing it from. From here, I'm going to add some curved lines coming up to the center. So one from this side that just comes down and around the back of our head there. And then mirroring this on the other side, but again, just cutting it short a little bit to match up with that side of the face. And to add a bit of a neck to this one, I'm just going to come to the back here, drop a bit of a curved line like that, and around the other side, just underneath the cheek area here, you can drop another curved line, and they'll come in handy a little bit later on. Okay, coming down into adding some of our details here, we're going to start with the beak, so just curving it right around like this. And then you're just going to cut it back towards our eye here, stopping probably just past the center line there. And then you're going to do a bit of a W curve, so it's just going to dip in the middle and then come back out towards the top of the beak. So it'll have that sort of shape to it. Now this is a neo-traditional style design, so I'm going to have these little sort of glossy areas. So I'm going to sort of add those in now, so that they're a little bit easier to follow later on. So you can just add in any little highlight areas that you want to add. To sort of complete our beak just underneath this, I'm going to do a line that just mirrors this line here and comes up like that. And then using that little oval that we drew, we'll come up and around it like this. and then just follow our beak shape down, adding in a little nostril shape at the top of this here. For these two curved lines surrounding our beak, we're going to do these little wispy feathers. So the way you're going to do that is basically a combination of S curves like this and just regular small curved lines and slightly longer curved lines. And you can combine these in a bit of a sequence to give you these little sort of wispy feathers that sit around the beak. Okay, coming up to start our sort of eyebrow portion of this, first thing you're going to do is trace that bottom line around and up like this, and then we're going to turn that into a feather by coming back, adding in these little sort of peak shapes and overlaps until we reach the center again, and then you can add another feather just behind this. So we're just using this as a general guideline for our shape, but you can sort of add these feathers in however you'd like, and just using the same sort of principles to add in your next feather. Okay, to link this top portion of the head up, you're basically going to trace that sort of flattened circle area, just smoothing out those edges a little bit around the top. And I like to do this sort of scaling feathers. So you're just doing these little curved lines that kind of look like fish scales. And you can just bring them up and around the head. And I don't stress too much about perfection with these. They're feathers, not scales. So they don't have to be perfect. They can be sort of a little bit wonky in shape, and they don't have to have the perfect sort of overlap either. Okay, now both eyes on this fella are going to be done pretty much the same way. So what we're going to do is that outer circle, we're just going to come around the back of it, and I want to add this little bump to it like this, and just bring that around and down like that. And then on the inner line of that, you can just sort of trace the same shape. Bring it all the way around to the front and link it up. And then on the inside of this, you can do a full circle and another full circle. And of course you want to add your highlights in at this point as well. So I like to add one highlight there, and I might put a little circle highlight over here. These are just basic guidelines. You can of course change these as you go. Okay, coming in from here to do our sort of cheek areas of feathering. That's why we've drawn these guidelines in, and you're basically going to do those with your little overlapping feathers like this. Just simple little curved lines that overlap each other, just coming all the way around the side of the face there. And you can even add some secondary ones to this just to add some more detail. Coming up the other side, it's going to be the exact same thing, just starting at the bottom, curving these around, and you can even throw in a few little S curves and sort of broken curved lines if you'd like as well, just to add a little bit of texture and detail to the shapes. But you're just going to bring that up and around, and I might add a second row of them here just by coming around with these little curves, and this will add a little bit more detail and sort of texture to the face there. I also want to do a little bit of black sort of pattern work throughout the feathers, so I might just add this little streak behind it like this. Okay, and you can sort of add that on both sides as well. Now you're going to repeat the exact same process you did for the cheeks, for the section underneath it. So just coming around with those small feathers and detailing out these areas underneath the cheeks there. Okay, to sort of complete these little eyebrow into the rest of the head areas, I'm not sure what these are actually called, but you can come out from behind them with a feather shape like so, and then you can add these little S curve bits to it as well if you'd like. These just add a little bit of texture and different sort of shape variety to them. You can add in a couple more sort of feather shapes to bring them back into the head area there. And then on the inside of this, I like to just add some small feather shapes. So we'll just bring that down like that. You can add a bit of variation to them, but they're basically like little leaf shapes with some minor variations. And then I like to add those same spots that we did around the beak to the inside of these soft feathers here. And you're going to repeat that process on the other side. Okay, last thing to do is to do our sort of neck feathers. So we're basically going to do the same scale feathers that we did on top of the head. just curving around like this. And again, I'm not too worried about perfection here because they are feathers. If they were scales, you'd worry a little bit more about making sure all your rows are equal and have this same sort of shape to them and everything. But when you're doing feathers, you can afford to be a little bit more messy with them and a little bit more uneven. They don't have to be perfect. So I'll just bring those around. It can actually help make them look a bit more natural if they're not perfect. And then what I'm going to do is add this negative space smoke or mist sort of in front of him. So just coming from here and adding this little line that comes up and curves around. It's just basically a long S curve. And I'll bring that back just underneath, curve back around, and do another longer one. And I actually want this one to disappear up behind him, so we'll bring this up and around like that. And bring it back down like this. And like I said, these will be in the realm of like negative space background. And then on behind him, I'm going to do some like sort of shadow areas of the same sort of shapes. So just bringing in a little bit of a smoke curve there. And maybe just behind him, we'll have a bit of a trail that comes off. It comes off like this. Okay, last thing I want to do is add a little moon in the background. I'm just going to eyeball this one for now. And then when you do it, when you transfer this to watercolor paper, you can use like a circles tool or the cap from a water bottle or whatever you'd like to use to draw that circle in. Okay, so in terms of our undersketch, that's basically it. We're going to transfer this to watercolor now. I will let you guys know that the sketch for this, so the undersketch and the finished sketch, will both be available in the class notes section of your download if you're a member of my channel. If you'd like to join, there'll be a link in the description. Alright, I've transferred our design onto some watercolor paper. This is Fabriano 300 GSM watercolor paper. You can use whatever paper you'd like depending on what medium you're working with. I've done our negative smoke lines just in lead pencil, and we will erase those later on. I've also done our little moon shape in lead pencil, which I will erase. In terms of doing the line work for this one, it is neo-traditional, so there's going to be a few different line weights. I've done really heavy 1.2 line weights for some of these facial areas because you really want those to stand out and be bold and not sort of get lost into the design. And for the small feathers and all of these real fluffy feathers, I used my 0.5 size. You could probably throw a third different size variation or a fourth one in there. I just went with these two sizes today for this design. Now the palette for this one's kind of interesting. We're using Liquitex acrylic inks as always, but I've done a bit of mixing here and you'll find that with these neo-traditional designs. So I've got solid carbon black and a bit of grey wash, which is just carbon black with water mixed into it. I've got a brown color, which I've made by mixing yellow orange with dioxazine purple and a drop of vivid red orange. I've got an orangey yellow tone, which is basically yellow orange mixed with vivid red orange. I've got a muted pink, just on its own. There is a transparent raw sienna, again on its own. And I've got a transparent turquoise, just by itself as well. So these are all Liquitex acrylic inks, which are perfect for doing this sort of tattoo flash style work. And I'll leave a link in the description to purchase these. If you do, it is an affiliate link. It does help the channel out and is greatly appreciated. I've also got two brushes. These are Taklon synthetic brushes, a size 5 and a size 6. I've also got a glass of water for washing the brushes out and blending colors. Alright, so as always, we are starting with our black shading on this one. Now there is going to be quite a bit of different sort of tonal changes throughout this one. So we're doing a little bit of black shading in here. And there'll be a fair bit of black shading as we go through on this one, I believe. So a little bit of black shading in there. And whenever you do this, you just wet your blending brush and gently blend that black out through from a black to a grey and out to white. So I'm applying black for starters. Sorry about that dog in the background. I'm applying black for starters in these little areas that would be shaded or shadowed underneath the eyebrow portions there. And then of course I'm also going to go in and do areas that are supposed to be black by design. So going in to do the pupils of the bird, I'm basically going to do those solid black, just making sure to be careful to leave those little areas of highlight that I outlined. Now for doing our beak, we've already got these areas sort of outlined for our highlights. So you can pretty much come in and around them using your black. And you might like to add little other areas of highlights as you go along. It's completely sort of up to you. I like to add little extra areas of highlights as I see necessary whilst I go through and paint. But you know, everyone's going to have a slightly different way of tackling this. Okay, from here I'm doing a little bit of pattern work on the face. So just filling in those little squiggles that you did on the face. And then you can come in with a blending brush and just blend the end of those through to grey and eventually through to white so that it blends naturally back into the paper. Okay, once you've done these areas of pattern work on the face, I'm going to tilt my page and I'm going to do a little bit of black off the sort of forehead area here. So just coming down into the middle area of our eyebrows and following the shape of them like this, so it's a bit of a V. And then using your blending brush to blend that up gently. These little loops around the eyes will also be black. It's a bit of pattern work, so I'm going to come around the back of them like this with solid black towards the bottom. Just using my blending brush and blending that through. Same way that we did the pattern work on the rest of the face there. Now to add a bit of depth to the eyes themselves, I'm actually going to put a little bit of black around the top area there. And then blend it down, just being careful not to get too much darkness around the top area of the pupil there, otherwise it'll sort of mask your solid black pupil, which sometimes with realistic designs it certainly will do that, but I try not to do that when designing for neo-traditional or traditional style designs. Okay, from here I'm going to turn the whole image around and we're working from this end now. So I'm going to come down the sort of backside here, just being careful, leaving my negative misty sort of areas there. Okay, and I'm actually going to follow along that line where we've got our mist and bring my black shading around on that sort of angle like that. And then just using a bit of water, you can blend that forward. Again, just being really careful not to get rid of our negative space there, because that'll be really important to the design later on. Once we've done that, I want a bit of darkness in here, so I'll go into my grey wash and just get a bit of grey on my brush and just sort of blend that through as well. So this way you're darkening the value of this area without colouring it solid black or without using any solid black in that area. And you're going to start doing that with a bit of grey wash, just going through and choosing areas that you'd like to have a bit more shadow in, but you don't want to use a heavy solid black. You can go ahead and use grey wash to add these sort of shadow values to those areas. So under here I'm going to want a little bit of a shadow. So I'm just going to use the grey wash to add that in. Okay, we're also going to use a bit of our grey wash there to do the background sort of smoke areas. So just doing them in with our grey wash. If you want to make it a little bit darker, you can just add a little bit more black to it. Or once it's dry, just go back over it with the same value grey wash and it should darken it a little bit as well. To do our little moon shape in the background, the idea is I'm going to take a bit of carbon black and we're going to basically trace around the very edge of our moon up to about nearly halfway on this side. And then with your blending brush, I just want to blend that grey out around the back here. That's going to give it a bit of a background to where the moon sits. It's hard, but you want to get this nice smooth sort of grey in this area. So it's just going to take a bit of practice to sort of fade that out. But I just want to try and get as smooth of a grey as possible around this shape. And you can probably already see what's happening. But by outlining the sort of bottommost area of our moon shape and then blending out around it, it's going to create quite a bit of contrast and make it look really bright sitting in the background like that. And that looks really cool. Right, so I've just washed out my brushes and we're going to go into a bit of color now. So I want to start by getting these sort of smooth and soft feathery areas around the face done. So I'm going to start by going into some transparent raw sienna. And we're going to just see how that looks coming in through here. We want like a nice sort of sand color. So this is just straight transparent raw sienna. And I'm just going to blend that through for the real light areas so that it has a nice transition through to white. Just a little bit on the other side like that. And blending that through. Blending it through from those sort of solid areas through to the light white areas is going to give this a really soft look. And that's sort of what we're looking for here. Just coming around the back here. Coming around that little block of fur that we've got. And again, or feathers I should say. And again, just blending that out through to those soft areas. It's going to make it look nice and fluffy. Around the back here as well. Coming straight over the top of your black shading. Don't pay it any attention. This is a transparent color, so the black shading will sit really nicely just underneath it. And with your blending brush, again, just blending that down and through to those softer feather areas. Once you've done this, you can take your transparent raw sienna, dip a little bit of your brown onto the end of that as well, so that you get a little bit of a mix of colors. And you want to do these larger soft feather areas underneath this. So it'll be a slightly darker sort of brown tone, and it'll blend through nicely to that raw sienna, sandy sort of white tone. And again, just blending out to those softer edges. Okay, here I'm just washing my brush out a little bit. And I'm going to go into a different color now. Instead of using the raw sienna, we're going to jump into just the brown. So I'm taking just some of our brown that we made up. So remember, that's a mix of orange, yellow, dioxazine purple, and a bit of vivid red orange. I'm going to come straight over the top of the head here. We're going to do like a wall-to-wall color. So we're not doing any skin breaks on this one. Just coming in around like this. And then using your blending brush and a fair bit of water to blend that up to the top of the head to a much lighter tone. And that'll give you a nice transition from a dark sort of warm brown up to like a light sort of yellowy sand brown, very similar to what's in our face there. Now you're going to use this same brown to do the body area or the chest area. Just coming in from the back where you've got your darkest tone here, your darkest value. And bringing that down and around towards the front. Like this. Getting towards the front area, you can go ahead and start blending that out a little bit with water to get into your lighter values of your brown there. We're going to drop a bit of brown in on the shoulder over here like this. And I want to blend that down towards the center of the chest and just sort of fade that off towards the bottom there. And for the feathers that are coming off the end of the eyebrows there, I want to try and use a muted pink for this. I'm not sure how this is going to look. It might be too bright, but we will see. So I'm just going to come in with our muted pink and do those areas. Just blending them out. So I kind of want to have a nice contrast between colors here. I don't want everything to be that one tone of brown. And you know, with this neo-traditional style, you get freedom to sort of play around with different colors and get creative with your color palette and your color choices. And you can sort of really do whatever color you like, whatever matches your style and aesthetic. Okay, I'm also going to bring this muted pink color down into the eyebrow areas. So just starting at the bottom here of each feather, each of these large sort of feathers, and I'm just going to blend that up and through so we have a sort of solid pink area at the base of each feather, and it just blends up nicely into white. Okay, I've just washed my brush out a little bit and I'm going into some orange. This is deep vivid red orange and our orange yellow color, and we're just using that to paint in our eyes. So just coming over the top of our black shading and down past our highlight a little bit. Bit of water just to blend that through towards the bottom, so that we have a nice sort of light color towards the bottom there. That'll help give us a little bit more of a highlight, more of a natural highlight. And coming around the other side and doing the exact same thing. Okay, from here I'm just taking a little bit of turquoise on the end of my brush, and I'm going to come around the back of our beak here with a bit of turquoise, and we're going to blend that up and over the bridge of the beak there, up and around. And that'll again just add a little bit of variety to our color here, make it look a bit more interesting. And that, my friends, is basically it for this one. That's how you draw a neo-traditional style owl head. That is it for today's video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Keep drawing, keep painting. Bye-bye. If you like the content that I make and you'd like to support the channel, make sure you smash that like button. And hey, while you're at it, check out one of these other great videos.